Hey, how's it going? So look, we're gonna try something a little new, little different today. You may or may not know this, but yeah, I do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, right here on this channel, and it's basically where we all get together and talk movies or talk the movie news or whatever, and just it's fun. We hang out, we answer questions, we talk and stuff, and it's fun. It's so hang out if you want. But anyway, so every week, starting I think last week or the week before, I started doing this thing where it's like, hey, this is what I've been watching this week. And since there's not a lot of huge movies coming out this week, I figured, hey, why not? Let's cut this out of the show and put it in another one. Because here's the thing. I used to work at Blockbuster. You may or may not know that, but one of my favorite things about working there was, you get to know people, and you get to know people by what movies they watch. And so I still think that way. I think that you learn a lot about people by the movies they watch and the movies they end up buying because it almost becomes part of their personality. Now, I will say this. For some reason, YouTube makes it really difficult for you to get your live streams down in very, very good quality. So if I continue to do this, then I'm going to record that. Record the segments that I want to use because yeah, the quality of the download wasn't that great. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. We are going to go through some movies that I've been watching. And again, if there's anything that you've been watching and you're like, oh man, I want to talk about, whatever, tell me about it. Something you watched on Netflix, some old movie you watched, whatever. I love to hear about it because I love that stuff. I do. So the first movie on the list is I picked this up earlier in the year, Arrow video release of a movie that I didn't really care for. But there was a new edition, a new director's cut that I kind of wanted to see because I'm a big fan of the director, and that is Blackhat. Blackhat, directed by Michael Mann, starring Chris Hemsworth. I found the theatrical edition to be very blah. Like it didn't feel like it had any passion behind it. I just didn't really care for the movie. The director's cut is not in 4K. It's in Blu-ray, but it still looked really good. And there's some things that they've changed. They've taken this set piece and they took it and they made it at the beginning, and they took the thing that was at the beginning, they moved it here, and there's some other changes throughout. I gotta say, I left with the same feeling as when I saw it the first time, which was eh. So yeah, when it comes to Blackhat, not a huge fan. Just not a huge fan of it. That's the only movie that I can say that I'm just not a big fan of. Do I hate that I purchased it? No. Am I glad I purchased it? Yes. I'm glad I purchased it because otherwise I wouldn't have seen the director's cut. Would I suggest others buy it? That's on you. If you're a fan of Michael Mann and you want to see everything he's done, sure. But I don't know. It didn't hit for me. Didn't hit for me. The next 4 movies are movies I've seen before, and some of them are pretty recent. This one's really recent. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and this has the part 1 on it, which I don't know if you know this, but they changed the title. It's now Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, no part 1. Probably a little late for that, but yeah, 4K, amazing. This is one of the most amazing transfers, the most amazing 4Ks I've ever seen. It really is great. Of course, you've got the Dune movies, and there's plenty of others that I haven't watched, yet. Especially some of the ones that I was watching on my old Blu-ray player. All I can say is this was fantastic. I loved it. And I really liked the movie. I think a lot of people didn't, for some reason, the part 1 turned a lot of people off. This is great. If you like the Mission Impossible movies and you haven't seen this, you got to see it. It's great. It's really, really entertaining. I like this movie a lot. Um, yeah, I guess that's about all I have to say about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, I want to bring your attention to this Napoleon, the director's cut. I watched this week. And I will say it's better than the theatrical cut, but still not like a 4-star must see to me. This one's like, if you're gonna watch Napoleon, watch the director's cut. Don't worry about the theatrical, because I don't know. It didn't do it for me. Is it a movie that I'm glad I watched? Of course. I mean, it's a Ridley Scott movie. It's absolutely beautiful. Production design, costume design. When it comes to the technical side of things, there's almost nobody. I was going to say nobody, but that's hyperbole. And you know how I feel about hyperbole. The fact is, this is really at its best when it comes to the technical side. It's the story that is kind of plods along. I also think that Joaquin Phoenix's performance is a little flat to me. There's some things that he does that I think are really good, but I don't know. This movie did not click on all cylinders. That's just where I stand on it. There are in the director's cut, there are some added scenes with Vanessa Kirby's character, who plays Josephine, who also is in this, by the way. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was better, but still not great. Still not great. So that's where I stand on Napoleon, the director's cut. Now, I just want to say this. There's an actor that, if you're a fan of The Boys, you know who this is. Is it Laz Alonso? I'm a big fan of his work on The Boys. I really enjoy that show. I think he's a really fantastic character. But here's the thing. I didn't know that he is in the biggest movie of all time. That's right. He plays Sute in Avatar. I had no idea. I was watching the special features and I'm like, holy crap, that's Mother's Milk. What the heck? But yes, Laz Alonso, man, I was crazy shocked. I didn't realize that was him. But anyway, there you go. Avatar. Now I know this is very controversial to say in this day and age, especially with the climate that we have going on, that, hey, I like Avatar. I think Avatar's a really good movie. And man, if you want an exhaustive experience when it comes to special features, this is the set. There's so much on this set. There's no commentary, but that doesn't matter. Of course, you get the theatrical version, the special edition, and the collector's extended cut. So you have 3 different cuts in 4K on the 4K disc. Then you get the same thing on Blu-ray, but you also get 2 discs of bonus materials. And man, I was like, I'm ready to move on. I've seen enough. But what I love about this set is the way that this opens is really nice. And I love the fact that yes, it opens up all the way and you get this beautiful artwork. And of course, the artwork is on the back as well, which is really nice. But I also really appreciate the way that there's magnet here and a magnet here. So when you close this, it stays shut. And it doesn't... I really like that. I think that's really cool. The thing that I hate about this release is that the discs are in these little sleeves. Because it doesn't matter what you do to get those out, you will have to touch the disc. And you're going to get fingerprints on the disc. And I hate that. I don't like that. It's one of the worst things about this release. But Again, there are multiple versions of Avatar on 4K. This is the most exhaustive. If you like special features, you're going to love this. That's just the way it is. You're going to love it. So yeah, Avatar. And then, not to be outdone, I watched Avatar: The Way of Water. The same sort of thing here. You don't get multiple cuts of the movie, but the movie's long enough. The movie's almost 3 hours. Okay? So, yeah. Is it? Where does it say? 192 minutes. Oh, it's over 3 hours. Okay. So, there you go. 3 hours, 12 minutes. It's long enough. But I will also say, this one doesn't hit as much as the first one does. So, if you don't like the first one, you may not like the second one. But then again, I've actually heard many people say that they prefer this one to the first one. But there's no question, the movie looks even better. This one, Avatar 1, looks insane in 4K. I can't believe that this one looked even better. So it was like, okay, that's the best disc I've ever seen. And then I put this in and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This is the best disc I've ever seen. And maybe it's just, hey, I've got a really good 4K Blu-ray player now, so now I'm getting to experience these movies, and maybe all of my 4Ks look this good. But I gotta say, this is pretty good. And again, it's got the same sort of setup where, you know, with the magnet, right, and it folds out and all that kind of stuff, and it's really nice. And it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but to me, it's not as good as the first one. I prefer the first one to this, and I think it's because the fish out of water. The fish out of water story. Got it. Yeah, in the first one, this one just doesn't have that. And it's like the first one, you're learning about the world, and you've got a more, like a bigger sense of awe, I guess, when you're watching that first one. But this one, it's okay. It's good. It's good. It's worth watching. If you're a fan of the first one, definitely watch the second one. But you may like it better. You may like it not as much. Either way, there you go. Then, from two of some of the same sort of thing where it's kind of like the disc or the packaging is kind of cool, but it's kind of not cool. Here's another one. Trainspotting on the Criterion Collection. Now, you might notice there's a size difference. So I don't like that. I don't like that. It's not in a standard Criterion case. It is in like an envelope type thing. You open this up and you get this guy. Now, the one thing I will give it is that finger hole. Easy to get that disc out without touching it. I like that. And there's a little little booklet here, with your typical kind of Criterion, essays and stuff like that. But this, pretty damn good release. I got to say it. It's a great release and a fantastic movie. I haven't seen this in probably 15 years. This is one of the first movies that I watched that made me think, wow, I really like independent films, or sort of this independent mind, not like the big blockbusters, but movies like this. I really like it. But I also felt that I was kind of outgrowing it. And so I quit watching it and hadn't watched it in, like I said, a very, very long time. If you want to know where I get my Scottish accent from, it's from watching this movie multiple times. I love this movie. But look, you got Ewan McGregor, you got Robert Carlyle, you got Kelly MacDonald, you got Johnny Lee Miller, you got Ewan Bremner. I mean, what a cast, right? It's an insane cast. And a great movie, directed by Danny Boyle. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It is short. I went from Napoleon, 3.5 hours. Avatar, 2.75 hours. And then Avatar 2, which was 3 hours and 12 minutes, I think. And then this one is what? 94 minutes. It's kind of a shock to the system. But I enjoyed it. Hey, I'm just butting in here because I think this needs to be said. I've never reviewed Trainspotting like officially because, I mean, I just never have. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the amazing soundtrack that Trainspotting has. So if you haven't seen the movie, but you're interested in the music, I'm telling you, the music is fantastic. I've owned these soundtracks since the movie came out, and I love them. And really heavily inspired my own music in the future. So yeah, I just wanted to pop in and say that. Next on the list is another Criterion movie, a movie that I have not seen, and I gotta say, wow, was I impressed. Rebecca, Hitchcock, right? Alfred Hitchcock's classic from 1940. This is the only Hitchcock movie that ever won Best Picture. He never won a Best Director. Can you believe that? Wow. But this one, Best Picture, 1940, and it's also produced by David O. Selznick, who won for Gone with the Wind the year before. Very interesting. Hey, me again. I just wanted to pop in and talk about what the movie's about because for some reason I didn't do that here. But anyway, Hitchcock, right? Amazing. Laurence Olivier's in it. Joan Fontaine's in it. They both got nominations for Best Acting, which I thought was really good. And George Sanders, who you may or may not recognize that name, but he is great in it too. But anyway, this is what IMDb says. A self-conscious woman juggles adjusting to her new role as an aristocrat's wife and avoiding being intimidated by his first wife's spectral presence. So basically, she gets married to this guy. She moves into his huge mansion, like huge, beautiful mansion. And his ex-wife, his dead wife, she kind of, she's basically haunting the mansion in a way. It's really good. It's awesome. Here's the thing. This is a Blu-ray. Open it up. You get 2 discs, 2 Blu-rays. This has a ton of special features, ton of stuff. I mean, listen to this. You get 3, count them, 3 different radio plays of the story of Rebecca. One with Orson Welles. Pretty cool. I listened to part of it. Really, really cool. But the thing that blew me away was this. It was a documentary called Daphne du Maurier in the Footsteps of Rebecca. Daphne du Maurier is who wrote Rebecca, also wrote The Birds, and many other many other stories that turn into films. But that was an amazing documentary. I really, really enjoyed that. But of course, there's also a really, really entertaining interview with Alfred Hitchcock on this old NBC program called Tomorrow. It's an amazing set, I gotta say. This was a big surprise because I was like, I like Spellbound. I bought Spellbound not too long ago, watched it, and was like, yeah, it was pretty dang good. I like that one. Okay, one more time because I got that wrong. It wasn't Spellbound that I purchased. It's Notorious. Spellbound is a movie that I haven't seen. And the reason that I'm guessing the reason that I said Spellbound is because I recently put it on my watch list so I could look out for it because I want to see it. But yeah, it was Notorious that I watched, which was also really, really good. But yeah, so continue. Not only is the movie great, but all the special features are great too. So I would highly recommend, if you're a fan of Hitchcock and you haven't seen Rebecca, why don't you pick this up on the, the old Barnes & Noble 50% off sale. Get it for $20. It's worth it. I'm telling you. Good movie. And then, finally, it's the last movie. I watched this last night. Good old Brian De Palma. If you don't know who Brian De Palma is, he did 1975's Carrie. He did Dress to Kill. He did The Untouchables. He did the first Mission Impossible and probably maybe the best. I don't know. I really love the first Mission Impossible. I think it's fantastic. But anyway, 1981, John Travolta and Nancy Allen in Blowout. This also has John Lithgow in it and Dennis Franz, who you might remember from NYPD Blue and the kind of annoying cop in Die Hard 2. Anyway, I had never seen this movie before. This was a blind buy, but the reason that I wanted to watch this is because Quentin Tarantino talks about this movie all the time. I'm a big fan of Tarantino, and because he's got this sort of encyclopedic knowledge when it comes to movies, he talks about this movie like it's this is one of the classics from, from the 80s, and nobody talks about it. It was good. I really liked it. And what's interesting is I just watched Rebecca, right? Hitchcock movie. This is Brian De Palma almost emulating Hitchcock. The way that this movie is framed, the way that the movie is shot, everything is there's a lot of style going on. But it's the way that he builds suspense in this movie, really, really well done. And the whole story behind this movie is, and I really didn't go into some of these other ones, but hey, he's a sound man. He works on, let's say, trashy porno horror movies, slasher movies kind of stuff, right? That's kind of what he works on. But he's the sound guy, right? Records all the sound and stuff. He's out and he is recording sounds to put in the next movie or whatever that he's working on. And he happens to record the sound of a blowout. Basically, it ends up being a political candidate, and the car drives off the bridge into the water, and yeah, things happen, and there's a lot of suspense and a lot of stuff going on. This is another shorter movie. This is only 108 minutes, so an hour 48. So not a long movie. I will say toward the end, it was kind of dragging a little bit for me, but that's 1981. But it's really interesting seeing a young John Travolta. It was really, in this kind of role where it's not like he's not a hero really, but he is the hero. He's kind of, I wouldn't say like an anti-hero, but he's basically just trying to get to the bottom of things. And it's kind of fun to watch. But what's interesting about this one is that there is a lot of shots and a lot of scenes that take place in, by the way, 4K, and then the Blu-ray has all the special. Blu-ray is on the, the movie is on the Blu-ray as well, but all the special features are all on the Blu-ray. But what's interesting is, like I said, he is trying to edit this stuff. He gets somebody else, I won't say who, somebody else was filming, right? And they sold the film of the crash to a newspaper. And the newspaper cut out basically printed all the frames of the movie. And what he did is he cut them all out because he works at a movie studio. He animated the crash, added the sound to it so he could try to figure out what happened. It was an awesome scene. I'm sitting there going, okay, this is all really like old stuff. I mean, he's using film to do this and tape, right? It's completely different than the way we would do this today. But it was still really cool movie. Really cool movie. And as a Brian De Palma fan, I'm glad I watched this. Of course, Brian De Palma also did Carlito's Way. He also did Scarface. He's done a lot of great movies. And this is another one of his great ones. So, blowout. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed what I watched this week. And yeah, I don't usually do this live, but thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.